Welcome to the Sanity Project podcast, the place for internet technology professionals whose work-life balance plan has imploded. We are here to provide solutions that will help the IT pro live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hi, this is Joanne Victoria, and I'm so glad to have our guest today. Her name is Lisa Harris. And Lisa Harris is an award-winning entrepreneur with more than 30 years' experience as a registered dietitian and has been certified as a personal trainer with a specialty in senior fitness since 2013. In her business, Enduring Fitness for You, and that's her website link, by the way. It's Enduring, ENDURING Fitness, FITNESS, numeric 4, alphau.com, and it will be a part of the show notes. But I just want to spell it out right now in case somebody wants to hop to her website while she's talking. In her business, Enduring Fitness for You, she provides individual strength training and nutrition coaching in the privacy of clients' homes, as well as small group fitness training in the Temecula, Murrieta area of Southern California. Lisa is a sought-after speaker for both private companies and public organizations, as well as webinars and podcasts. She has been a college professor and has written for Creating Wealth Magazine, Shape Magazine, Men's Fitness, North County Times, that's San Diego for those of you who don't know, and livestrong.com. Welcome, Lisa Harris.
Well, thank you, Joanne. I'm so glad to be with you this morning.
I'm glad you're here as well, because the things that you write about on your website, enduringfitnessforyou.com, really hit the mark with our listening audience, which are IT pros, people who, men and women who are in the IT profession from all arenas, from developers to project managers to the C's, corporate C's, and they need your help. So what can you tell us today about staying fit in the workplace?
Okay, great. Well, this is something that's really important to me because my background is a school food service director. So I did work with a lot of people who were seated most of the day in the office. And although my clients are currently not working, a lot of them still do sit. And so it's very important for me to find ways that are easy ways for people to get up and get moving. So I think what's important, first of all, to realize is that generally across the country, the average American adult does sit about 9 to 10 hours a day, which is more than your waking hours. And we have discovered in the last few years that the sitting time or sedentary time is really becoming a public health issue. And that's because our bodies were built to move. If you think about it, early humans, we were running all the time. We were chasing after animals. We were outside. And it's just been within less than 100 years that we've really started to slow down and do a lot of sitting. The problem is that because we are built to move, when you do stop and sit for long periods of time, what you're doing is telling your body to just shut down and prepare for death, which sounds really bad, obviously.
Yeah.
So the good news is, though, if you stand within 90 seconds, so in less than a minute and a half, your body starts to have a cascade of chemical reactions that are very beneficial. So, for example, the American Diabetes Association is recommending for the first time in its history that people with diabetes stand and move every 30 minutes. So they're realizing that every 30 minutes we can start pushing blood sugar out of our blood, that blood glucose, which can get high, into the cells to be used for energy. We also start pushing blood fats out of the blood and to be utilized for energy. So just standing every 30 to 60 minutes and walking around, doing some stretching, going to the restroom to get a drink of water or whatever, simply getting up and moving our body weight is extremely beneficial and might help to delay the decrease the risk of obesity or diabetes. So that's critically important. When I was a school food service director, I used to try and incorporate movement into our day as much as possible. So I would encourage my people to stand instead of sending emails, stand, get up, and walk down the hall and talk to somebody. If you did need to use a phone and if they had a headset, get up, walk around while you're talking. We used to have walking staff meetings. So I would have a secretary with notes and that would take notes, but we would literally stroll around the corridors while we were having this meeting. And while it was kind of hard to get used to, the gals after a while really were looking forward to it. Obviously, everybody has a legal break they have to take. Now, that doesn't mean everybody takes their break every 2 hours, but definitely take advantage of that time if you can. Instead of going and sitting down and eating, get outside, walk around, go, if you're going to grab a snack, just go ahead and eat it, but walk around while you're eating it. If you have time to leave your building at lunchtime to go for a walk, or even if the weather's bad, go to a local mall and walk around, look at the shops and whatnot. There's a lot of ways that we can incorporate that movement into the day, and it's so critical. And as I said, a public health issue. Researchers have labeled sitting or sedentary time as the new smoking. And the way that title came about was that there were researchers that came to the conclusion that for each hour that we spend watching TV after age of 25, so for each hour of TV watching, it reduces your lifespan by nearly 22 minutes. So to put that in perspective, for every cigarette that you smoke, it reduces your lifespan by 11 minutes. So that's why they're calling the
Ye gods, heavens.
Yeah. Isn't that terrible?
There goes my downtime.
Exactly. And you don't have to get up and exercise. You just have to get up and move. Again, 90 seconds, you're pushing those things out of your blood and getting your cells energized, your muscles energized.
Have you written anything about this?
Well, I have in blogs and a couple of articles for magazines, yes. And and you can tell it's something that really is really important to me because it's such an easy thing. I think as personal trainers, we have not done a good job of getting people to embrace movement. And it's because it looks so difficult and it just doesn't look fun. So whenever I can tell somebody, buy a pedometer or get a Fitbit or something like that and just look at how much movement you're doing throughout the day and make small goals. If you walk 2,000 steps per day,
2,000 steps.
That would be great. You wouldn't need me if you did that.
You wouldn't need to go away. You're fine.
But if you walk 2,000 or 3,000 steps per day, and that's your average, then a goal could be, I'm going to walk 500 steps more per day, and then just gradually build up. It's much easier than saying go walk for 30 minutes a day, because that just is impossible for some people to carve that time out.
So you're saying that 500 steps is equivalent?
What I'm saying is that if you can build up your movement a little bit at a time. The goal for most adults is 10,000 steps per day, which averaged out over a week is about the equivalent of 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week. That is the general public health recommendation for all adults in the country. So 150 minutes would be 30 minutes 5 times a week. But again, for a lot of people, they just cannot carve that time out. So that 10,000 steps per day averaging gives you about that goal to reach.
So we would tell the people who are listening to you right now to stand up.
Exactly.
To stand up and listen.
Stand up.
Not rise up. We're not doing anything, that adventuresome, but stand up. And
stand up and just walk around the room for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, stretch a little bit, and come back.
Well, also, I do know that when you are standing, maybe or maybe not, may or may not be walking, but I find that I move myself more when I'm standing, even if I'm not walking per se, because I have that kind of, sometimes jittery moves when I'm thinking. I think with my hands, they fly out, so on and so forth. But one gets more creative when they're standing.
Absolutely. And
because probably because the blood is flowing.
And oxygen is going to the brain. And there are people who have done studies about workers on treadmills, their desk treadmills. And what they found is that they're not so beneficial for burning calories, but they really help with creativity, which I think is a nice...
And they keep you alive.
A nice side effect. That too.
Yeah, because that's really what's going on here is that... I think what you're talking about also will help reduce the insurance issues for employees as time goes by, because what happens when you eat too much, you eventually become diabetic or pre-diabetic, at least because you eat bad food. 9 times out of 10, people who sit at their desks all the time love pizza. And I wonder, I read a lot of novels because that just takes me out of the realm of working with my brain all the time. And it's amazing when I read these novels, the diets that people have in these novels. They eat toast for breakfast. Doesn't matter what country they're from. They eat toast for breakfast, and they eat pizza for lunch. And they're proud, and they eat, I don't know, pick an ethnic food for dinner. But most of it is carbs. There's very little protein, certainly no vegetables to speak of, and nobody drinks any water. All they drink is coffee or tea, depending upon what geography, where the book is placed, whether it's in Europe or Great Britain or the U.S. They drink tea or coffee, no water.
Oh, gosh.
So we have no water, no movement, high carbs. There's death there.
And probably the really refined carbs, because we know that the whole grains can be very beneficial, but
even too much of those aren't good.
Well, yeah, too much of those are not good, right? But definitely the white flour, the white sugar, avoiding fruits and vegetables, not good, good. So I'm sorry for those people in your books.
But this is the perspective of the author and or the editor. So there is some reality here. There's some truth in this. And this is what I see as, almost a pandemic throughout our world, that people are not eating properly.
Right.
And that negates any type of healthy feeling.
Right. And we know that exercise has a plethora of health benefits. I mean, there are dozens of health problems that are benefited from exercise, but many of the health issues are related to obesity and chronic inflammation, which are tied directly back to what you eat. In fact, weight loss is probably 80% what goes in your mouth. So we like to say, lose weight in the kitchen, gain health in the gym.
Oh,
so,
absolutely.
Yes, right.
And inflammation from all of the, excuse me for interrupting, I just had this flash, but all of the alternative healthcare people, whoever you want to label that, they believe that inflammation is what will kill you. Inflammation in any form inside your body, and inflammation usually comes from, my experience anyway, is chemicals in the food that you're eating.
That could be one thing. That could be one thing. High sugar foods is another thing.
Right.
And we can counter some of those effects by a diet rich in fruits and vegetables, which have the phytochemicals, the antioxidants that are very beneficial. Inflammation is a normal process in the body, but when it becomes chronic, it can cause cells to mutate, leading to cancer. It can cause plaque to burst, leading to a heart attack or strokes. And most of the chronic health problems are now related. They're looking at chronic inflammation. So definitely another large issue that we're looking at, definitely.
So a worker who is driving, sitting, sitting,
Right.
and has already lost, for each hour of TV has already lost, another 2 years of their life.
Right.
What can they do during the day? What can they do to, is it the standing? Is it the moving? Is it the food? Or is it a combination?
It's going to be a combination. So I would have a person look at their day and try to find some easy things to do first. So, for example, if somebody drinks 2 gigantic sodas a day, can we cut back to 1? If somebody is getting tired in the afternoon and reaches out for a highly sugared, highly caloried coffee drink, can we change that to a small one? Can we replace the soda eventually for water? So looking at small changes in the diet is probably a good place to start, but then also looking at the activity. And if there's any way that you can set an alarm in your computer or your phone, something that just reminds you to get up every so often. I have a client that has Parkinson's, and what we do with her is she literally sets an alarm in her phone a certain time per day when she does stretching, or she'll get up and she'll set the alarm in her kitchen on her microwave, set the alarm there for 60 minutes and she'll go sit down and do whatever, and then it goes off and she has to get up to take it, to turn it off. So just those reminders. Some of the activity trackers, I have a Fitbit, but some of the other ones they'll buzz you every 60 minutes if you haven't gotten up and moved. So it's trying to find something. Let technology help you, and I'm sure these people can come up with many more ideas than I can. But set some kind of a reminder every 30 to 60 minutes where you'll get up and just. Again, it doesn't have to be exercising. It can be stretching. It can be something as simple as standing up, putting your elbows, putting your arms at your side and bending your arms at a right angle, and simply taking your elbows and squeezing them so that you're behind your back, so you're squeezing your shoulder blades together, and just repeat that 10 times. What that helps is not only is that movement, but if we sit a long time and we're hunched over a computer, the muscles in the front of your body across your chest tighten up, and then the muscles in your upper back get loosened. And pretty soon that posture looks...
Oh my God, I'm going to
get really old, right?
I'm going to get paranoid right now.
So I just have people just sit up tall, or if you're standing, stand tall, get those shoulders back, and then just start bringing your elbows back. And it literally, you're working those upper back muscles. And what you want to visualize is bringing your shoulder blades together in the back and just holding that for about a second, releasing, and doing that, 10 times, 12 times every time you stand up. That's a really good thing to do. And so, again, looking at simple things, trying to think of making an major overall change. I'm going to walk 10,000 steps tomorrow. Not going to happen, but just look at some of the ways and make some simple swaps in their diet or in their activity throughout the day. Can be very beneficial. You mentioned breakfast. A lot of what I work on with my clients is trying to get a good protein source at breakfast. It helps your health in a lot of ways. And so we're always looking for, if you don't like the eggs, and you don't tolerate the dairy products, okay, what else can we do? There's peanut butter, there's nuts, there's leftover chicken from last night. So that's something.
There's also Jenny O's breakfast turkey sausage links.
There you go. Yep.
And 2 of those little tiny links, which are not much bigger than your finger, have 8 grams of protein.
There we go. Perfect. So I tell my clients, try to get between 10 and 20 grams of protein at breakfast. And so that means if you're having a bowl of cereal, you better be using a cup of milk and then some other source of protein. So again, that could be yogurt, that could be string cheese, that could be a couple tablespoons of peanut butter with a sliced banana or apple. And for a lot of people, it's going to mean before I go to bed tomorrow, I'm going to think about what I'm having for breakfast, and I'm going to get everything ready to go. Because the biggest excuse or reason that people don't eat breakfast is because they don't have enough time.
It's
so again,
preparation. Yes, it's preparation.
So again, set everything out or pack peanut butter and an apple or crackers in your in a lunch bag or a bag or something, and just grab it on the way out and eat it when you have time.
Put the brown bag or your child's go get your own lunch container at the store, and then do it the night before and put everything. I just read something recently about people who are so busy that they are planning their wardrobe from head to toe, in and out, everything. A week in advance, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Wow.
And it doesn't, it's a commitment.
Right.
But, it's about saving your brain and saving your time and so on and so forth, as this would be a commitment, and people have to understand that they have to learn to commit to something, if not anything else, themselves, certainly. If they can make a breakfast and or lunch and or both the night before, along with their children's, or if there are no kids around themselves, make that lunch, brown bag your breakfast, brown bag your lunch, and you will, number one, you're standing when you're doing it 9 times out of 10. So, you're ahead of the game, but preparation is the key, and people don't like to prepare. And that's why McDonald's and Burger King, and you pick one or four, are making billions and billions of dollars a year off the backs of people who are too tired to take the time to prepare.
Right. So again, it's finding what works. If what works for you is right when you get home before you sit down and relax to think about breakfast, or if it's right after dinner or right before you go to bed. Again, I can't stress enough, what works for one person isn't going to work for another. So,
sure.
So I have some clients that know that they're going to get busy and they're just not going to stretch or whatever it is during the day. So we say, okay, when you get out of bed, I've got one gal who lives by herself. She's 84. So she gets out of bed, she goes to the bathroom, she turns her heater on, she goes back into bed to get warm. And then I said, okay, when you get up from getting warm, you're nice and warm, you've emptied your bladder, that's when I want you to do your stretching. And that works for her. Whereas 2 hours later, she might, be busy, have her head in a book, or doing something, and she's not gonna do it. But that wouldn't work for everybody. The workers are gonna not have that luxury in the morning. They're not going to be able to crawl back into bed, get warm, and get out and exercise. So they're going to have to find some other way.
They're smart enough, hopefully, that they should be able to attach one task to another.
Right.
So even if they're at work, they're going to use the restroom facilities. It's not impossible along the way to, wave their arms around. I mean, everybody's kind of open the offices today anyway, so they can wave their arms around and get some blood going in their arms and their neck, and shake their head a little bit as they're walking.
Right.
Do some more stretching when they're leaving, or depending upon the size of the facilities, they have plenty of room to stretch the backs of their legs. And I'm visualizing all this, you see.
Exactly.
So they can, lean against the wall, stretch the backs of they can get a lot done in that one bathroom break.
You mentioned something about tacking on to something else. So
one task to another.
What researchers have found is one of the easiest ways to develop a new habit is to stack it onto an existing habit. So it's literally called stacking. So the theory here is that your brain is already wired to do something. So flossing was a really good one, where everybody brushes their teeth at night. So you attach that new habit of flossing onto brushing your teeth at night. For my client, so we're stacking a new habit of exercising or stretching. It's not exercising. We're just getting her to stretch, with getting up that second time when she's nice and warm, because she goes back into bed, gets warm, and she's obviously going to get up. So we're stacking it onto a pre-existing habit. And this has been found to be a very successful way to learn a new habit, to get your brain wired to do something new.
There you go, people. Those of you who are listening, listen to this. Listen to this podcast again, because Lisa Harris has provided you with so much information and so many tools. Some of it will be in the podcast quotes, and the links will be provided to you. But you just need to do something. And in closing, Lisa, can you tell me what has been a lesson or somebody's advice that's stuck with you throughout your life?
I think I have to go back to my childhood, to my mother. My mother always told us that if you set your mind to something, you can accomplish it. And I know I've been successful keeping that in mind throughout my life, but I've also worked with my clients in that way because, first of all, it takes a certain mindset to call me and to get started with me. But then if we can find those couple things that they're really committed to, and we put in some ways to avoid obstacles and to get some instant feedback, some good feelings, then they can set their mind to it and they can accomplish it. And they've been very successful.
That's perfect. Well, in closing, I'm going to give out Lisa's website address again. It's enduringfitnessforyou.com, and there will be also in the links, as well as Lisa has provided a gift for you. If you go to her website at enduringfitnessforyou.com, you will find ways to access a free ebook called 7 Fitness Myths Debunked. Let me say that again without a lisp. 7 Fitness Myths Debunked.
Excellent.
And Lisa, I think I did it. I'm not sure. I thank you, Lisa. You have really come up with some great information, and I'm sure you have satisfied our listeners, and I hope to have you as a guest sometime again soon. How about that?
Great. Thank you. I've enjoyed it. This has been great. Thanks,
Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project podcast. Please go to AskJoanneVictoria.com and continue the conversation on her podcast page. And get a free copy of her book, The True Self Handbook, a guide to transform your life. That's AskJoanneVictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.